Life is always filled with a different spectrum of emotions and feelings, and the most important event I want to tell you about my life, about what happened to me. I just stood in front of the mirror and watched my reflection in the video on the other side of a totally different person. It wasn't me, and his clothes were totally different. "Who are you?" I asked him. I looked him straight in the eye and I knew that he was probably me, but we were so different. My hair was white and different from his hair. I was wearing a suit with a white shirt and jacket. I had a black tie around my neck. The guy on the other side of the mirror had the same facial features as me. His eyes were the same as mine, but his hair was a completely different color. His hair was black. "What's my name?" I asked, and at that moment I realized that we communicate with him at the same time. He is like a copy of me, but from another dimension. I do not understand how it is possible. We said our names at the same time and realized that our names were completely different. The guy in front of me in the mirror with black hair said his name was Lee, while the opposite of my name was Romeo. RP Romeo. The guy in the mirror was very surprised when he heard my name. He asked me if you were the successor to the great clan. I could see the sweat starting to run down his face, but all I told him was, "What the hell do you know about me?" I sat in my room and made tea and dipped the bag into a pot of boiling water several times to get the tea to brew better. After that I just poured the tea from the pot into my cup. It was hot and smelled pretty good, but at times like this, I knew I would like to live a little better than I do now, but it didn't upset me. I took the saucer with my hand along with the cup and brought the cup to my lips to drink the tea. I always closed my eyes at such moments to get a better taste. At times like this, memories always come to mind. You remember something that you would always like to forget, or something that does not give you peace of mind. What a nice feeling of nostalgia. I looked at myself as I looked back over the years. I remembered what I was like. It seems I was able to become the character I made 12 years ago when I was a sophomore in high school. I was very passionate about what I was doing. I really liked to draw. I drew from morning till night. My eyes lit up. I was happy in those moments. Was my second year. I drew a man in a suit. He had a jacket and tie. He was beautiful. Despite my pencil skills and knowledge of drawing, he still turned out beautiful. I remember myself the moment I finally finished this drawing. I was over the moon. My eyes and whole body were burning with joy. I had created the perfect version of myself. It was a great character. At the time I thought he was perfect, but the problem was that I created him when I was in the middle of puberty. This whole situation might not have happened, but all of a sudden, the very same game burst into my life. Yes. This game changed everything. This game was called History of the Continent Arena. It was an extraordinary world with a bunch of different creatures, with a huge variety of different monsters, and in this world, you were a completely different person. It was one of the greatest virtual reality games. In other worlds, there was no other such game, so it was in demand. I was in this game and I couldn't help myself. It did take up a lot of time. On one day this game was blocked on the news, then said that the CEO and producer of this game, the owner of the company Cosmo, is somewhere missing and no one knew where. The news that the CEO of the company was missing somewhere shocked everyone, but still it was not all. The world had changed then. People saw how the earth was cracking. Our planet was cracking at the seams. Something terrible was happening, and no one could explain to themselves what was happening. Rocks began to fall because the earth began to crack. Houses were collapsing all around, and it was total chaos that no one could prevent. That day this game was transported into our world, in our real world, and out of the ground, right out of the bowels of our planet, appeared a huge building with Gothic windows. Cracks in the ground began to appear all over the world, and no one knew how to prevent it. From these cracks began to climb out of the game. Monsters began to appear everywhere. People were very scared, and we all thought that the world was ending, and we thought that no one could prevent this catastrophe. But no one thought that the people who played the game were assimilated to their in-game characters. When these heroes appeared, no one could have imagined that they would possess such power. They could not only use their skills but something else as well. They managed then to destroy all the monsters and then save the world. Thanks to these heroes who fought so bravely against the monsters, we were able to save our world. It was an unforgettable experience for all, because those who yesterday were still ordinary gamers today were the real warriors. I will not hide the fact that in my life, too, there were times when I fantasized that I would like to become a player like them. I would also like to save the world. That's when I realized that even if I had tried to do it and had succeeded in awakening my powers, I still wouldn't have been as famous as all those wars that fought against those monsters back then. I was sitting next to a younger version of myself. I was brooding and dreaming about something in my head. I was still a child. For some reason I was staring at the microwave and all the objects in our room. I was very poor. I didn't have much money to buy anything because the cost of buying a machine to enter the virtual reality system was tens of millions of won, and even renting one would cost hundreds of thousands a month. My father was very upset that he couldn't let me have such a machine to log on to the game. He cried and thought he was a bad father, and I didn't blame him. After all, it really wasn't his fault. What could I do then? Our father's business was failing and he didn't know what to do because he had no money, and my sister tried to calm him down. She told him not to cry and not to get upset about it. My mother was washing dishes and tried to distract herself from the problems that befell our family. I watched my parents fight. I saw my mother stop respecting my father every day. She was constantly reproaching him. I saw my family break down. I realized that day the gloom of life. I realized that it was not as rainbow and fun as I would have liked it to be. I had no choice and I had to quit the game because there was no more money in the family. I could not force my parents to pay for what I play, but if I had known that then the world will attack monsters game will become a reality, I would never quit the game and would become famous. Because I haven't played for a year, my stats have turned into a nightmare. I'm completely unable to do anything after all the other players have already reached high levels, and even though I was able to resume my abilities, I'm not the same character I was 10 years ago. And this tea really isn't bad. I even like the taste even though it's just tea from a bag. Yeah, I'll probably get the same one next time, said the guy with white hair, and I thought at that moment, guy, but are you serious? Are you crazy? Remember I told you about a character named Romeo who I made in the midst of my puberty. He was beautiful and he had long white hair and sharp facial features and beautiful clothes. But the most important thing is that the character I made then was now very rich and a lot of money was invested in him. He was an intellectual with expensive clothes and could afford to live luxuriously. This is only the beginning of our story. The most interesting things await us further. Romeo was the successor of a very rich family that he loved madly. His family was very many people. They were all family members, but they were all killed one day by a demon, and Romeo was left all alone. All his family was killed and they could no longer help him. To avenge this demon for the death of his family, he decided to become the ultimate demon hunter. He was no longer afraid to fight after these creatures. He was not afraid of them and not afraid to shed blood. He just wanted revenge on all these creatures. He was a completely different person already. I couldn't even imagine what he was capable of. People were afraid of him when they saw how he dealt with these monsters, but most importantly, it was my dark past that I would not even like to remember. Although it would sometimes be very good to remember it all. We laugh to remember when I was in high school is a traumatic for me memories, but nevertheless, they are my memories. From them there is no escape. I'm like an adult. It's just an endless source of embarrassment. It's very hard for me to communicate with people. I'm constantly shy. I can't even stop talking in this weird way. My character with white hair acts like a true aristocrat, but he is not. He's very mannered. It makes me nervous. I don't understand what's happening to me. I'm acting as weird as possible. I have to go to work tomorrow or not. I'm totally confused. Can I even function as a proper member of society going just my way? What am I even saying? My boss at work was always yelling at me for having my hair dyed, and he really hated that I had beautiful white hair because he was already a bald old man, and he was constantly scolding me for everything he could. I couldn't stand it and poured his coffee from the glass right in his face. I did it because he started to hurt me for some personal things that I don't allow anyone to do. Yes, my anxiety began to rise more and more. My face was drenched in sweat. I was totally tense and couldn't think straight. No, I can't do this. But why do I do this all the time? I had a hard time giving answers to my questions. The new me always behaved very calmly. He said he had to be like a nobleman and face his problems calmly, but I who was inside was always scared of something. I was always afraid to take any decisions. Some guy was interviewed on TV and he was on the news, and they asked him what it's like to be a real player and save the world. You must feel a huge responsibility, but the guy scratched the back of his head smiling and said, yes, I just do my job and I do not consider myself a great warrior, just do what I like. In any case, I still cannot work anywhere. I was fired. I now have absolutely no money, and why do not I try to become a player? Because this is the best time for it, but I do not remember how to play this game because my character that I created 10 years ago probably already disappeared. I got on the computer and started looking at different articles. I started spending more time on the game and getting interested in what was going on in the game and in the world. I needed to understand the mechanics and working with it all. I had to learn a lot about the game in order to become the first player in it. I wanted to take the leadership spots. I dreamed of being first, but I knew absolutely nothing and I had to get information on the internet. Players who have reached high levels and constantly fight monsters have already managed to become hunters. They earned millions by killing monsters despite the fact that they risked their lives every day. They still did it and made a lot of money, and I wanted to become like them. I resigned myself to the fact that I would have to study a huge amount of information and go through hundreds or maybe thousands of different fights with monsters in order to raise my level to the most basic problem was that I had absolutely no money. I did not have enough money even for normal life. I then felt a kind of awakening in myself. I realized that money is not the most important thing. A thing in life. My name is Romeo, and yes, I am ready to give up material things and value in order to fulfill my dream. For me it absolutely did not make any sense, and I could sacrifice much only to become a hunter of monsters. In order to become one of those hunters that I want to be, I need to see what all these monster hunters do these days. I got on the internet again and started searching for all possible information about them. When I entered my question in the search box, I got only 2 pages. Which is very little. I did not understand why there are only 2 pages on this topic on the internet. Is it really not so relevant or in demand? It cannot be that the demon hunters do not need anyone now. Is it really so few orders? Only 2 pages on the entire internet is just some terrible news for me. I do not know how I react to it. But suddenly I found something on the internet that did not leave me indifferent. I was surprised sincerely. Really, I did not expect that I could ever see something like this. I was curious. I lingered on this post. In this message that I found, it was written: Orhan base in Akan Field. Last night all the computers for demon hunters in the city of Akan were killed by the management of the Federation of Healers at 3 a.m. on the 3rd night. Revealed that 152 people killed and 0 survivors. The pictures from that place were horrifying. There were many bodies lying on the ground on top of each other, and their body parts were torn off. Many had their armor pierced and some had arrows sticking right through their chests. Blood was everywhere. Near them lay a red flag. These demons were everywhere. They took over the entire city. No one could get out of there alive. All fought to the last drop of blood and few managed to stay alive. Demons attacked from all sides and came out of everywhere, so the players who were defending the area very unlucky. Everyone who found themselves there at that time very unlucky. I couldn't believe my eyes when I read all this. I looked at the pictures of the scene and I wanted to close my eyes. I begged that it wasn't true. But unfortunately the world is too cruel. That day came the end of all the demon hunters. Destroyed them all. People put candles and put out the fire of candles because they knew that no one else can save them. Of course everything would be very different if the demon hunters have done at least something else 10 years ago. Yes, that time they still managed to defeat the demons, but after that they stopped in their development and stopped improving their abilities. They did not care about how to choose their way of assembling weapons and armor. The whole problem with demon hunters was that they could not just quietly take and raise their level or sharpen their skills. They had to do all sorts of silly quests that they almost did not give anything. They were dependent on gaining experience to level up during the quests. The whole problem with the hunters was that they were constantly doing different tasks and they had little time to train in order to fight against real monsters. Yes, they did it well, but apparently not well enough. They killed demons like quests in order to quickly get their experience, and they were hard to kill. All these monsters they were looking for a long time because the respawns did not work well and few of them were able to properly perform the quests, so to do it quickly and pass very quickly. Linear narrative game. I knew a lot about the game back then. I could level up fast and was one of the best demon hunters. Players often looked at my artifacts and my armor. They always lacked the intelligence to understand where I got it all. My class was demon hunter. I was considered one of the most useless classes in the game because everyone always chose mages or knights, at most warriors, but no one ever chose demon hunter. Everyone thought it was the most useless link in the team, but it was the perfect role for a loner. Demons killed all the NPCs who helped advance further demon hunters, so I now could not further develop on your character, and most importantly, is that I could not change my class, and then we would all skills somewhere would disappear. I had to urgently think of something to solve this silly dilemma. I thought the best option to solve the definition to continue to search anything on the internet. Yes, I knew that very little information left about my class demon hunters, but I simply had no other choice. I had to look for something to find the answer. I went to a chat room where people were constantly chatting about the game. They were discussing different questions and giving answers. Suddenly my eye fell on one of the comments I saw there. I paused on it long enough to find out what it was all about. In this commentary it was written, "Hello, I am a fast Wong angel to explain to children who do not understand what is happening. I want to say that the demon hunters specialize in defeating new demons added in this update is the beauty of this class." Yes, I got it right. This class is needed to kill new demons that were added to the game. Now everything is in its place. Now you need to see what this update needs to know as much as possible about the update, and then it will be clear what happened to my class. Then I can better manage it. Demons in the new update, it was a nightmare to defeat them. They were very strong monsters. Players were dying all the time when faced with these demons, and the strength was excellent. Their level was 200 and the players did not understand how to deal with them. These demons really were a new update in the game. How was it even possible to let this? They are invincible, only Demon Hunter can defeat them, but as far as I understand, in order to fight them need to command yourself, cannot cope. I started to flip through the internet search engine. I wanted to know as much information about it as possible. I needed to understand how to fight these demons, because these creatures were much more dangerous than all the other monsters before they appeared. So, I'm the only demon hunter left alive, and that might be a good sign for me since I can finally become famous. But still, am I really the only one left? 10 years ago, I never thought I'd get the chance to prove what I'm capable of. I thought I'd never be able to play this game again. Now I realize I'm the only demon hunter. I've had to go a long way. I've suffered and been frustrated for so long because I'm a loser. I can't do anything. I got a childhood trauma from all this, and now it's finally been 10 years and I now have a test that can change my destiny. I wanted to find out what I was capable of, and I had the perfect chance to do it. I could test myself to the limit. I could do anything to reach my next level. I could reach incredible heights. I just had to work at it. My name is Romeo, and I will never run away from demons again. They can never scare me again. I told you that when I was a kid 10 years ago, I was the most confident man in the world. This is my world, this is my character, this is all I have. I remember the thoughts I used to have. I can never forget it. In my head I'm constantly traveling between past and present. Yes, my mom never believed in me. She said I was doing stupid things even though I could not play the game then. But I was drawing a character that I would create in this game, and now this character finally exists. I could not even think about it at the time, and now it all turned into truth. I was just a kid who did not decide much in my life. I was always sitting at the computer. My thoughts were brilliant, but I could not implement them because I did not know how. And when everyone told me that I could not become a demon hunter and that they were useless classes, they were wrong. Alright. Enough of this foolish thinking. It's time to do it. I can't waste any more time. I must get on with my mission. Even though it seems impossible, I know I can do it cause I just can't not do it. But my alter ego had a different opinion. For some reason it kept thinking that it was a stupid idea and that it wouldn't work. I felt like I was starting to split into several people. I wanted to do it on the one hand, but on the other hand I knew it was impossible. But the most important thing that I understood at that moment was that you should never hesitate and always go all the way to the end in your chosen goal. The world is too harsh and incomprehensible at first sight, but nevertheless there are bright lights in it. In the streets there were huge screens and billboards on which people were constantly on the news that the demons that came after the upgrade are absolutely invincible. Hospitals are full of people. All the warriors who fought against these demons need to be buried, and the doctors do not have time to treat them. There were already a bunch of dead people lying in the street outside the subway station, bleeding. Some of them were still moving, but many were already quite dead. You have to be brave. I am brave is the most important character trait that a man needs. This character trait which is necessary for a hunter of demons, because otherwise you cannot cope with them. I'll make sure you come back. I want to see you alive, and I'll do everything I can to make that happen. You can rest assured in me. It's been a few years since the Great Cataclysm. People tried to survive as best they could, all exist in their own rhythm and pace. Everyone even began to forget about the great catastrophe that happened to us then. But I always do not remember. So many things that we used to think were insanely useful and necessary have disappeared. Many things have simply been erased from our world and from our history. People have begun to think differently about life, and new values have emerged. But the most important thing is that people have been able to return despite what seemed to be the collapse of the world. Life returned to its origins. People began to walk the streets. Everything seemed to be the same as before, and I saw people begin to smile and do their usual things. But it was not as easy as they thought, although time began to go much faster. No one would have thought that the darkness was creeping up on them day by day. Everyone was too relaxed and forgot what had happened to them. People very quickly get used to good things and stop being prepared for danger. The demon very often controlled some people, and we might not even notice it. He was making great food for the other demons in the form of humans. He was breeding us to become their food and food. That's why the demons left our world for a while. The people who were possessed and controlled by the demon like puppets looked disgusting. Their face veins were bulging and their eyes were red. They didn't look like people anymore. they were just empty shells that thoughtlessly exist. Come on boy, eat them, it's time to do it, what are you waiting for, do my bidding. These words whispered directly in the ears of his subordinate, and he couldn't help himself, he now saw all these people only as his targets. He listened to the command of the demon who had just told him what he had to do and immediately got out of his seat. He ran straight towards all these people who were sitting quietly chatting and unsuspecting. It was a surprise to everyone. He was holding the phone in his hands where he and his friend were on the desktop, and suddenly, he heard the phrase, "Listen, I'll never forget it, to be honest I really like this picture, it always reminds me of you. You know, it may have taken me a while, but nevertheless I want to say that it was a very good time for me, I will always remember it with good memories." This guy was a tank, his name was Chaman, he was the leader of the band. Suddenly he turned his head to the side and saw what it was that surprised him. The guy could not stand still and his gaze immediately began to run. He saw me, I was walking then in my black suit, stepping from foot to foot. I always stood out among all these people, I could be seen from a distance. I was confident and headed straight to my goal. I went over to the guy and told him, I hope you're ready to come with me and do it, and I expect the guy to say yes. I wanted him to be willing to help me. Yes. One of our band members has left us, so we are looking for another member who wouldn't mind traveling and fighting with us. If you want to join, I would be all for it. He held out his hand to me and his body was dressed in iron armor. He told me, you know, and you've come at a very good time. This makes me very happy because I was starting to worry. My name is Keelman, I'm the leader of this group. You want to join? I told him it's very nice to meet him, and he said it's nice to meet him too. Suddenly all around us space began to distort. From nowhere began to appear purple light. From this light began to fly out purple lightning. No one knew what was happening. I said, here is some problems begin, and we new friends shouted, yes, I see, I'm not blind. People didn't seem to notice this purple barrier, they just walked through it. They were busy with their phones all the time and didn't see that there was an invisible wall in front of them, and it was absolutely normal for them to walk through this wall. I could be one of these people who doesn't suspect anything and just walk through this wall, through this barrier, but I did wake up, and so I'm not one of them. When I wanted to enter this portal to pass through this purple wall in front of me, there was a sign that said the entrance is available for players of level 35th or 40th. It would be very nice to hunt in this space. To believe my level was 55 and I could already safely go into this place. I already felt like I was there, as if I was climbing stairs, but when I looked up, I saw a lot of different people. I saw the average level of players who usually come to this place, and after that I felt uncomfortable because their level was 200. I looked at all these players and realized that their level was beyond my reach. I could only dream about it, and I realized that I need to work hard to reach the same level. I came to the idea that players with a huge level as the ones I aspire to are the only ones in our world, and I found a team with which I could develop at the moment. There were several people on our team. There were warriors and tanks all seeing each other for the first time. There was a girl who was smiling and waving her hand. She shouted that she was looking forward to working with us all. The leader of our group said, I looked at our overall rating as a team. I analyzed everyone, and I can say that soon we will go to this place, but let's first prepare everything we need, and in 5 minutes we can go there. I was a little worried. Something gave me no peace. I kept thinking about my level and constantly remembering the numbers of experience given for the hunt in this location, and it calmed me down. The progress of destruction in this location was 19%. These numbers gave a huge temptation to go there and start hunting. The most important problem and danger we might encounter there is that as soon as progress in destruction reaches 100%, the rift breaks and the monsters descend into the real world. At the moment of this gap, monsters start to appear from everywhere, and this is a good opportunity for players to do a raid on all these monsters and demons and to pump their level. Only players able to approach the time bomb. The leader of our group clapped his hands and we all paid attention to him, and he turned to all of us, guys, are you ready to go? And we answered him, yes of course, let's hurry up, we can't stand still, we are looking forward to this journey. My inner voice suddenly woke up and started whispering in my ear, listen, they're all so friendly, let's also say something, say we can't just stand by and be quiet, let's also show that we're positive. As the only son with many sisters in the family, I always had to watch out for, in order to survive the great war against my sisters, I always had to find the balance to be able to deal with them. You don't have to worry about the problems that might come over us because I'm with you, don't have to be afraid now. Why the hell did I say that as if I thought I was a king? The guys from my team pretended that they did not hear me. They were very uncomfortable after I said my phrase. Our group leader said, we're going to fight the monster called, you know who it is? Girls said yes, I even fought a couple of times against him. Just don't say anything else, please don't say anything, that's what you do best, because every time you say something, something stupid happens. When we entered this space there was a sign in front of us that said congratulations, you have entered the Knowles dungeon space, now don't forget to store food. This place evoked very scary emotions here. It was very dangerous, everything around was broken, there were traces of blood on the walls and on the pillars. We were in an abandoned subway, everything here was abandoned and it could not leave us indifferent. Everywhere there was danger, no one knew when some monster could sneak up on us. Our team and I went closer to the steps. Ahead of us was our tank and the leader of the group. They were always the first to go in case we were attacked by monsters. The girl came forward and said, I have examined absolutely everything here and noticed absolutely nothing suspicious, there are no monsters. The leader of the group said that we have not descended enough and all the monsters are hiding probably in the tunnels or in a dungeon, so we need to go lower. But do not worry, because there are no monsters now. I promise you that soon there will be enough of them, we can take our share if we just follow the right route. Just follow me. Okay, stop standing still and let's go and kill some gnolls. I can't stand still, and our whole team wanted to meet the monsters as soon as possible. But for some reason I could not calm down. I felt that there is something wrong in this dungeon, and it alerted me. Here we are finally down in the dungeon, and here are the gnolls that we were looking for. Just 70 meters to get to them and they will come to an end. Well, what are we waiting for? Let's go and kill them, said team leader, and all the other wars. Before they even knew what was going on they just saw him running at them. Hey, wait, where are you running away? Wait for us, stop. We can't have you killing all these things, we want something to kill some of these creatures too. In our team we have one tanker, 2 dealers of close damage and a dealer of long distance damage. There is also one magic dealer. Very unusual composition turned out for a campaign in such a raid. But I like the composition of our team, is a very interesting combination. But the problem is that our tanker does not protect the other players from the monsters, he only collects them on themselves. The problem with our team is that the tank absolutely does not perform its task. It takes too little damage on itself and thus does not close. The mage Ma does the bulk of the tasks and cannot focus only on their task of dealing a lot of magic damage. Because of this it can have problems. Is it so? Now all fight these days. In any case, their battle I do not care because it is not my problem. I am now completely useless to them. Girl shouted, urgent need to use the recovery buff because I'm almost out of stamina. I have to solve my problems now and then deal with theirs. I opened my inventory and looked at what I have in my inventory now in order to somehow use it in battle. First of all I have to fight as little as possible because I have no weapons at all. My weapons are useless in this fight. I have to find something that can help me against them all. I had an arrow flying. I did not notice it because I was distracted by looking at my inventory. It was the thickest battle. All fought as they could repel the blows and attack these monsters. I have always had a good intuition and I felt an arrow fly at me. I managed to dodge it in time. I need to find some kind of weapon because I cannot constantly dodge all these attacks. I got my head back and saw that to our right in the darkness there were a lot of these monsters. Before there were only war monsters that fought with balls, and now there were archers, many red eyes looking at me from the darkness. These things began to run out of the darkness and attack us. There was a huge number of them. I could not even imagine that there would be so many of them, but I had no choice but to fight. They're coming, so hurry up and use a spell, said the warrior, and the mage who tried so hard to use all her spells began casting a magic seal which could help us. But the enemies were getting more and more numerous. Our tank was starting to give up little by little, but he started screaming, guys, I can't hold them all, I just don't have the stamina to do it. I'm asking you to do something as fast as you can. After all they will break through the defenses I'm trying to build. All members of our group realized that we begin to give up positions was not easy to withstand such an influx of monsters. We began to slowly lose the battle, and no matter how we thought it was easy to pass this dungeon, still, we had to give our all in order not to die. We noticed that the leader of our group, all this time he stood aside. He first started this fight and now he just stands and rests while we fight against these monsters. Warrior shouted, guy, help us, please. Why you stepped aside? How can you be so indifferent? We tried to shout at him, but he was totally cold and indifferent. He acted as if he had led us into a trap. Yes, what are you doing? We shouted to him, come back to us, continue the fight. Guys, I think this guy decided to leave us. He's leaving now. You see, you're an abomination. How can you do this to us? You decided to put a team together and bring them to this place, and now you're just trying to leave. Look back, shouted Mai, but it was too late after all. Behind him was one of the monsters who jumped him and wanted to strike already his sword. Our warrior just stood there and knew that his fate has come. He turned his head back and saw that monster's sword was already near his face and he was frightened. He began to scream. At this point I could no longer stand by indifferently. I realized that I also need to intervene in this duel. I took a shot with my bow which I had with me and my arrow hit directly at the monster who wanted to attack our warrior. I killed this monster with one shot. The warrior absolutely did not understand what was happening. He already thought that the creature would kill him, but I made shots with my bow and saved his life with this shot. After all, I am still capable of something. It seems the creatures in this dungeon are already trained in martial arts and I just saved your life boy. Sometimes even I have to engage in combat. He turned on me and said, "Thank you guy, you saved my life. If it wasn't for you, I'd probably be lying dead around here somewhere among the other corpses." Well, I didn't realize that I just didn't want to die that death. That's the only reason I saved him. After this moment of gratitude, we went on to the battle. Could not be relaxed, not a single second, because these things attacked from different directions and their number was growing, but we were tired and already began to not be able to withstand such an influx of creatures. Guys, be careful, the creatures are already attacking us from behind. They are absolutely everywhere. Take care and watch out, for they can strike from anywhere. These rabid dogs already wanted to kill us and then eat us. I saw in their eyes in red burning anger how they would stop at nothing to destroy us. Our enchantress had a moment of dismoral. She took her staff and embraced it. Her eyes were frightened. She asked, "What am I doing here now? I don't understand why there are so many of them. We will really be able to kill them or they will kill us." I realized that she needed to calm down. I told her, "Just calm down, take a breath and exhale. I'll stop those monsters that are coming towards us. I'll fight them off, and you now do your strongest spell even if it takes a while." She saw me kill one of the monsters, shot him in the head from behind my bow. I killed the monster with one arrow. After that she calmed down. She exhaled and said, "Okay, I will try to do one of my spells." I asked her how long it might take you to cast your spell. She couldn't tell me anything yet, and the warrior, who was already fighting off the monsters with his last breath, shouted, "Try to make it quicker because I can't hold them back anymore." Guys, I've already finished casting this spell. Use it right now. Just hold out a few more seconds and then I'll use you fire meteor shower spell. It started shooting fireballs at all these monsters. It was the strongest stream of fireballs I've ever seen. We crouched down and started dodging these balls so they wouldn't hit us with their fire, and the monsters that just attacked us started burning and scattering in different directions. Everything around started to explode, absolutely everything, and we just watched these explosions. Rocks were flying in different directions. It was very hot here. After she used her spell, we managed to hide behind a wall at the very last moment. We too could have been set on fire by this fire. A warrior who barely got up from the ground after jumping into cover was squinting his eyes from the smoke. He said, "Guys, you're all right." I hope it was all monsters continued to shout. Warrior girl, after she used her spell, began to breathe very hard. She asked, "Are you all right? I did not hurt anyone. I would not want you to be hurt from my spell." "I am fine," answered them. "Please take care of other teammates." The girl went to see how the rest of the team was feeling. Our tank was like a burnt chicken, but nevertheless he said he was okay. The witch tried to help them somehow, but everyone was a little shocked by what was happening. I just looked at the creatures that were burning after this fire. I saw that there was an arrow in the body of one of the monsters, and it was the arrow that I shot at him and saved the life of my new friend the warrior. I thought that maybe I can get this arrow back. If it can be done, it would be great. The sorceress took out all her supplies, came to our tanker and said, "This healing potion for you, take it please, you need to gain strength now." He took it and said, "Thank you very much." The warrior was very angry at our team leader and shouted him, "You damn scoundrel, I will never forgive you for this. How you God take and leave us in the middle of the battle because we needed your help, but you freak left. How could you have the conscience to leave? Are you crazy? Why did you bring us here if you don't want to fight? I can understand you not noticing the monsters you or in the dark. I'm willing to understand it, but why the hell didn't you help us when we needed you? Saw that we were failing. You're the nastiest person I've ever met in my life. I don't understand how you could even become a band leader. You're a tanker, or what, a regular feeble-minded idiot." For some reason at that moment, he started laughing like the last bastard. Did my words really make him laugh? Is he crazy? What is wrong with him? He laughed very loudly, laughing like he was some kind of crazy. His laugh didn't sound like a person who was laughing, rather he sounded like some kind of psychopath who likes to stand by and watch everyone else suffer. "You're such an idiot," you start screaming. "Warrior, do you really think you're having fun? Do you really think it's funny that we might just die? You goddamn bastard, I can't take it anymore and just start a fight with you. Think I'm tired? I always have enough to beat the shit out of people like you." I tried to stop my hand warrior so that he did not put on stupid, and suddenly we saw fire. Our sorceress shouted, "Lord, what is happening here? Is it really fire?" He looked at us and kept laughing. He was totally crazy. I was beginning to wonder if this guy was normal himself. He asked us, "Do you really want to know why I'm having so much fun? Why am I laughing right now?" This is very funny. If you want to know, it made me laugh that you few weak and stupid idiots just fought in front of me while I was watching you fight and I was resting. It always amuses me, and now I will take all the trophies for myself." He went on laughing and we stood there watching him. I saw the reaction of every member of our group, and I often say I would have liked to finish him off myself, but something stopped me. But then I finally realized something very important, and a sign appeared in front of my face that said that the real ability of the natural form had been activated. My combat power will be increased several times when I fight against a demon. I get it, you're not an idiot or even a traitor, you're just an ordinary puppet who controls a demon. That's why you watched us from the sidelines all this time without engaging in battle. You led us here into a trap. You're so stupid, you didn't realize it before. You make me laugh so much. You're the most ordinary worthless people. I brought you to die, and you're going to die now, just get ready for it. You're a regular demon. If you think I'm afraid of you, you're wrong, man. You're running out of time. Don't think I'll let you out of here alive. You won't get out of here, I promise you that. The rest of the team were frightened out of their wits by what they had just heard, and they all looked at me and asked what you were just talking about. He really is a demon. You're not tricking us, you're serious. Why didn't you tell us before? But I didn't know what to say. I just realized it myself. How is this possible? How could we have fallen for this trap? Is he really a real demon? If this isn't a lie, then we're out of luck. I'm starting to get scared. Oh no, what's happening to me? It's like I'm falling into another reality. I'm losing the edges of our reality. I'm in some unknown dimension. I can't help myself. Are we so consumed by fear that I can't do anything else? Where did everybody go? What's going on now? Where am I? I'm starting to panic. I can't stop it from happening. I'm in some other space now. Tanker saw a terrible picture before his eyes, which frightened him even more. His mind and consciousness were in another dimension. He did not understand what was happening, as if he began to be controlled by terrible fantasies and emotions. Before his eyes appeared all of us members of our team. He saw how huge demonic tentacles woven of black matter began to wrap around our bodies and lift us into the air. These tentacles of our souls. Or he looked at it all and did not know how he could help us. We screamed. We asked for his help. The girl looked at him and screamed, "Help me please, he's choking me. I can't get rid of him. Help us." Her face was bloody. Her eyes were starting to bleed. Her body was melting. She moved her face close to my face. I saw her eyes were full of blood. Her whole face was covered in blood. She was saying, "Help me, you can save me. Why are you standing still?" But I couldn't do anything. I just looked at it all with horror, and I couldn't even move my body. This demon gets into our head. It controls us from inside. It absorbs our mind, and because of this we can do nothing with ourselves. It emits energy from itself which absorbs our mind and does not give us a peaceful existence. The demon ruled his glasses with an iron hand. He began to laugh and mock us. He repeated after us the words, "Help me. I am so helpless. I am so useless. I always enjoyed watching you suffer so much." I couldn't stand it and decided to attack him. I knew there would be no other moment before he consumed my mind and him to do something. I could somehow save the rest of my group. I could help them. I had to fight him. I stabbed him with the knife I had with me. I didn't have any cool weapons or any powers. I fought with what I had, and I had a regular knife that I stabbed him with. He blocked my knife with his glove. I hit him so hard his glove cracked, but still I couldn't penetrate his defense. He looked at me and laughed. He told me, "You could never beat me. You really thought you could do it." I didn't give up. I didn't want that thing to kill us all. He was really too cruel. I knew he wouldn't just let us go. I leaned back and got into a fighting stance. He gave me the first blow with his sword, but I was able to dodge it in time and took no damage. I knew he was moving very fast, but his problem was that he was constantly talking during the fight. He thought we were weak. I swung my knife and decided with all my might to stab him with my knife. He probably could have ducked, but I knew that this was the right moment to hit him because he was too distracted. I stabbed him in the back with my knife and tried to penetrate his armor. Yes, it was very hard because he had a very strong armor. Unlike me, I had absolutely no armor, and I knew that I could die from any blow of his. My knife hit him right in his armor and I made a small crack in his armor, but still I could not penetrate his armor. He turned his head at me and smiled. The demon immediately struck back with his sword. He tried to catch me with the blade of his sword, but I still managed to dodge in time. Yes, it will be hard to fight him, especially know what problems I have now with weapons and armor. Need to be constantly on guard. That damn demon gives me absolutely no chance to strike. I act calmly and cold-bloodedly. His attacks do not hurt me because I am always on my guard, because I constantly dodge all his blows. "You really think you can kill me?" shouted the demon. I realized that he got distracted again. He got distracted again by his ego. He thought he was better than everyone else, so I caught him at the most opportune moment. It was his weakness. His ego was his weakness. Before he knew it, I was getting close to him. I cut his face open with my knife because his face was the most accessible. On his body, his whole body was protected by armor, but his face was open to the stabbing. I cut it with my little knife. There was a cut on his face and I could see the blood dripping from his eyes. I could see him gradually having to fight the savage pain that was coming over him. Got one of the hardest blows I could deliver at the moment. He was lying on the ground bleeding and he started screaming so loudly that my ears started to pop up. I watched him suffer and knew he deserved it because he was as mean as possible when he became a puppet of the demon and when he brought us all here. I didn't feel sorry for him, I felt hatred and contempt for him. It was a great feeling and I had never felt that before. I knew that for the first time, I had killed a demon and it gave me pleasure. I went as close as I could to see him suffer and told him, don't even think about talking to me. I don't want to hear anything from you. You're just an ugly creature and I want to destroy all demons that came to our world. I put my knife right up to his face. I wanted him to see it. I wanted him to see what he agreed to. I knew that one day there he was a normal person, but now he has turned into a vile creature who is willing to sacrifice the lives of others in order to fulfill the request of his demon lord. This guy remembered moments from his life. He remembered sitting in the hospital. His hands and fingers were bandaged and he had bandages on his head too, and he was obviously from some accident. He was covered in wounds. A man stood in front of him and said, why are you always going out of these spaces? What are you looking for? It's very dangerous what you're doing. It's very dangerous. You might at some point just get carried away and die. But he sat across from him and just smiled. Yeah, I'm all right, don't worry. I only got these injuries because I was distracted and nothing more, said the guy. But the other guy answered him, you always come out of these rips wounded. I told you to avoid dangerous rips. Listen, yeah, it'll be all right. Honestly, I promise you it'll all be over someday, but for now I'm still doing it a little bit. I like going into these rips. I feel useful there. Just sometimes I don't have any luck, that's all. When I came out of the hospital, I met 3 guys who were bullies who were always beating money out of everyone, and they came up to me and said, your name is again, we know your team and you have an older brother, right buddy? I hope we are not mistaken. I heard your brother cleared another difficult raid from the bosses. Give him my congratulations. Tell him he's good. Be like your brother guy because he really is cool unlike you. Look, you have to work very hard to not blemish your brother's name because he really is a legend and you're just an ordinary kid who hasn't achieved anything. I'm going to laugh. Don't make people laugh. Just be like your brother and do your best not to disgrace yourself. I just wanted to make my older brother proud, that's all. The demon appeared to me then said, I can help you, just give me your hand, and I said yes. I couldn't refuse him. I didn't know what I was signing up for. When I reached out my hand to this demon, I realized that he was drawing me and he began to consume my body. In my mind I could not do anything about it. I began to just turn into his slave. It was as if he possessed me, but it was a strange feeling because I seemed to be myself, but at the same time I always felt his presence. I became the most common puppet. He began to control me when he wanted it and let me go for a while. I can't keep up with what's going on, I thought at first. I was still able to fight it somehow, but every day it was getting harder and harder. I was starting to lose myself. Eventually the demon completely consumed me and I couldn't do anything about it. His demonic tentacles began to control my body, control my hands. He began to act for me. He controlled my body from within. I felt in the beginning that there was something wrong here. We had a very interesting team composition, but nevertheless something seemed strange to me. All the time I felt danger. It was not from the monsters we came here to fight with. All the time I was watching this fight from the sidelines and did not participate in it. I saw one picture as the leader of our team first came into the fight but did not kill anyone. He immediately disappeared into the crowd of monsters and we started to fight and lost sight of him. The whole time he was just standing there watching us from the sidelines, watching us fight these demons. He brought us into the trap and he did it knowingly. He knew we would all get hurt, but for some reason he didn't tell us. Although he could, even though the demon consumed him, he could still tell us about it. But in his picture of the world, it was very different. He wasn't really trying to warn us, but it was too late and the demon swallowed him up and started chaining his body and his mind, and it all looked very scary. I gave him another blow. I did it on purpose to release his demon so that his demon who lived inside him could also feel all this pain and all this suffering. It was his fault for letting him in. Yes, I saw him suffer. I heard him scream in pain. I saw the blood drain from his eyes and spill all over the floor. I looked at the whole picture and I knew there was no other way. He had to pay that price for what he had done. You wanted to kill me so badly, you dreamt about it, and now I've killed you. Can you live with it, or will you continue to pretend you're the strongest one here? I told him with my head turned towards him. He somehow still managed to get up and told me, you may kill the body I inhabit, but you can't kill me, the demon owner of this body. You can't do that. And do you even want to become a killer? Asked me. He understood that I was communicating with a demon. I lifted my head up and looked at him. I looked at him with disdain, but still I thought for a few seconds. I wanted to give myself pause. I wanted to think about it all. You know I understand you, but you think it makes you proud of what you did. No boy, it doesn't make you happy. You were just a wimp who was looking for strength, but strength doesn't come that way. I swung my knife with all my might and decided to give him a final blow. I was very lucky because the man who was still in this body tried to hold this demon back as much as possible and help me finish the job I had begun. I stabbed my knife right in his face. I wanted to take his head off his shoulders. I wanted to cut it off so that it could not rise again. I needed to end this man's existence. I still managed to do it. His head really flew off his shoulders and he screamed and his face froze with a grimace of scream and fear. I was offended but I realized that finally I had finished what I started to do. I'm sorry for what happened. I know the man inside that body was good and he didn't mean any harm. But unfortunately life is too cruel and sometimes you have to make drastic decisions in order to save others. But it wasn't as bad as I thought. After I blew his head off and killed that demon, we all saw that the guy was lying quietly on the floor. He was completely unharmed and we looked at him and saw him open his eyes. He jumped up like a madman and started screaming, "Demon, did you see this demon too? This is some kind of scary dream. Where I am, what's going on here?" We didn't even know how to help him. We were just shocked by what was going on here now. Damn. I really was possessed by this demon. It was like a dream. I don't even know how to describe it, how bad I feel now. I feel terrible because it's such a disgusting feeling, as if someone has really been in my body. "Chaman, there's nothing wrong with you. Listen, you look really bad, boy. How are you feeling?" We all ran up to him and started reassuring him. We saw that he was finally back to normal and demons now with his body. We were worried about him. "My hands are shaking. I can't stop it. My hands just won't listen to me. I can't stabilize my condition. It's so awful. I want to take a shower. How do I get away from this condition?" "Listen, I'm gonna tell you something now, but please listen to me," you said I to the guy, and he froze for a moment. He heard my voice and realized that I was the man who had just freed him from the demon. I was standing right in front of him with my arms crossed over my chest, looking at me like a savior but still not understanding how to treat me after all. I had just killed him and he saw it perfectly well. I told him, "You're all right. You don't need to worry about it. I'm here beside you and you have no reason to worry. Everything will be fine. I promise you, boy. I'll protect you all if there's any danger. Just remember one thing that will help you in the future to fight against demons. Negative human emotions are always the most useful food for demons, is what empowers demons. If you experience negative emotions, they can control you. Stop being afraid of these demons. Together we can remove them so you do not have to worry about it. We are demon hunters. Do not you forget. I want to remind you of that again. We are with you, demon hunters. We are what can defeat all these creatures. I promise you that one day we will destroy them all, but for now our life is a constant battlefield in which we must fight against these creatures, and I promise you that we will do it. No one else can destroy." I opened my inventory and realized that I have absolutely no new items. I got absolutely no artifact for the trip in this subway. We killed many creatures and even I managed to defeat the demon but still did not get any artifact. A large glass building stood before my eyes. I looked at it and realized that its volume just amazes me. He was holding phones in his hand, showing his brother what was written in this phone. There was written, "Today Soap be very much a victim and could be very bad. A member of my group was held by a demon. I think our whole group would die, but luckily in our group there was one guy who was able to deal with it. And what do you want from me? You think I'm going to believe this nonsense that's written here?" And little brother answered, "Yes, you must believe it because it's true. Look bro, just because I'm a guild leader doesn't mean I'm gonna take some guy in our guild just because they wrote a post about him. It's stupid, but bro, you should do it because he saved me from a demon." When my older brother heard this, he spit out his coffee and his mouth and spilled it on his shirt. Couldn't even believe that his younger brother could be possessed by a demon. The weather outside was glorious. The sun was shining its rays on a huge building above which hung a blue crystal, and around this crystal, like an orbit around the planet, was an iron belt. Near the entrance to the principal's office there were always two security guards who were tall men with a strong build in black suits and black glasses who were professional security guards, and suddenly one of them heard something strange. "Say, what was going on? You heard it too." The older brother suddenly uttered a phrase. He said, "You really want to stop being a player and become an analyst for Gon?" Is a very unexpected idea that came to your mind. Let's not rush through it. Think again, because I can't believe you really want to do this. Just trust me brother, you know I never come up with stupid ideas. I really want to. If you agree I would be insanely grateful to." Your big brother thought a few seconds and answered, "Don't be sarcastic. Wait a minute, I haven't decided yet." The younger brother started laughing, all of a sudden laughing as if he had heard a funny joke or made a joke at someone. He said, "Come on, I'm just kidding, stop it." The older brother pointed at him and said, "Are you sure you're kidding? This is serious. You sure you don't want to be an analyst?" "No brother, I'm very serious about this and I'm not joking now, I really want it to happen," he said, and then he took with his hand a small cup of coffee with an Americano in it. "Brother, just hear me, I understand what my weakness is and most importantly, I realized that I have an important role. I finally realized the things that used to disturb my mind, now I feel stronger and feel much better. Brother, just understand me, I've tried all my life to keep up with you, I've always looked up to you and tried to be like you, but now I realize it's pointless, I can't find myself that way and now I have to go my own way. You know brother, I'm getting more and more interested now, but you know why? I want to know who it is that has changed you so much, and I've never seen you like this before. This guy you're telling me about is a very interesting hunter. I think if his abnormality status doesn't go down and he can handle such difficult situations, then his mental stats are incredibly high. This is a huge plus for any player. You told me about how this guy managed without magic with a demon using only his knife. I'm interested to know his class in Archon because I do not believe that it's you hunter and really so strong. I can't understand just one thing, why this guy got into this particular gap given the specifics he has and why he went there with you." Younger brother decided to interrupt him and said, "Yes, I know it's all hard to believe and this story sounds very hard, but I guarantee you it's all true. Brother, I'm asking you, just trust me." Big brother looked at him surprised and said, "What makes you think I don't trust you? Of course I trust you, you're my little brother, especially since you witnessed it all. I respect your opinion and of course I believe you. You know the boss does different things, mostly it's pattern analysis, guild management techniques and scouting new players, but you should always stay human and trust everyone who works with you if you see a spark of truth in their eyes. Look, thanks to you my little brother I got to where I am now, thanks to you I became the boss and can't run the guild. Of course I trust you in spite of all this. I even brought a contract so we can sign it here, take a look at it. You know you are the only brother I have and you are the best brother I have, so I will always listen to what you have to say. If you want to be an analyst, that's your right, I won't stop you from doing it." "I can't believe my ears, you're really saying that? Stop it, you're embarrassing me, I'm not used to hearing such nice words from you. So now what do you think of it, Mr. Analyst? When you read the contract, I hope you're alright." Big brother for an hour laugh. Little brother took the contract in his hands and said, "Yes, of course I'm alright, I'm alright." He adjusted his glasses and smiled as he read the contract and tried to figure out if everything was alright. He was looking at every word that was written there. But at some point his face began to drip under. His smile was no longer a smile of joy but rather a smile of tension. He adjusted his glasses and said, "Is this really the terms of the contract?" The weather outside was glorious, the sun was shining so brightly that it seemed to shine on everything and the clouds floating across the sky helped to hide from the sun for a moment. My level was 67th, I could not even believe it. I finally reached a normal level and I can be proud of myself. I did it in a short period of time and I am very pleased that I was able to reach this level. Look, we didn't earn that many levels. Don't immediately think we're better than everyone because the rabbits we killed in that subway were low level. There wasn't much you could get for them, but because we killed a demon we got as many as 12 levels. My inner half of me was really excited about what was going on. I said, "I don't really want to do things like stats, so you can do it yourself," and he was happy that he could distribute stats. He said, "I love doing that, the most we have a lot of points that we can distribute now." I kept thinking about how to distribute our points while we were in the shower, and while we were still in bed all this time I was figuring out the right distribution of all our points, and now I can finally do it. I can't even believe you let me do it. Look, you know what bothers me the most, and it's certainly not the distribution of our stats, it's that our room is a mess. I can't stand it when my room is a mess and something needs to be done about it as soon as possible. I immediately began to clean the room. I dusted, we curls, we fell. You know what I always think of a clean room. Clean mind is often a guarantee of order, but the inner man said to spend a little. Can you at least today rest as you are not tired yet? It was beginning to get darker and darker, and the sun was setting over the horizon with a beautiful yellow sunset, and the whole city seemed to stand still at that moment. I decided to prepare a meal today. I made soup with vegetables, is one of my favorite dishes. Yes, everything around was scattered and a bit garbage, but nevertheless it was still in order. I went to my soup and decided to try it in order to understand how good it is. Perhaps it would be necessary to add more spices. Always need to taste the food as I cook in order to understand what is missing from the ingredients. Our soup tastes great. I haven't eaten anything tastier in a long time. This is what I recognize. Romeo is the best soup in the world, and that anyone has ever made. This is all because I follow different practices of self-restraint. Maybe I'll also learn something from what he does, because this guy really is a good cook and he immediately washes the dishes after he cooks. Is a valuable quality for a man. After all, washing dishes is always very lazy. All the point is that the traits that I gave my character do not only apply in battles or in any tasks that he performs, they still apply in real life except for work and level. I'm too lazy person, and that's it. What I would like is just to take a shower and order home delivery and lie in bed all day and do nothing. But thanks to my character I get better. He infects me with his good qualities because he always does everything right and good. I wonder what other talents my character has. I would love to figure him out because he is so unique and unexpected to me that I am ready to figure him out from morning till night. His mannerisms, his habits amaze me, but most of all I enjoy the fact that he is just my character. The whole point is that talents occupy a huge place in his qualities. This character is talented in magic, can imitate most spells just by seeing them once. He can immediately use them. In addition, he is an intellectual. Well, most importantly, he has good physical training. I think that's all. These talents should be enough for this character. He already turned out pretty interesting, and that's more than enough for him. These traits usually apply to real life, and it's very interesting to see how he uses it all in real life. So I watch him every day, how he cooks and cleans and goes to the store. It's all so interesting. Suddenly he took his phone in his hand and read the message that came to his phone. He was a little surprised by this message, not to mention me, because I absolutely did not expect that someone can write to him. I also wondered what was written in this message. It said, "Hey, hi, do you remember me? My name is Chamlin. I was in the band with you yesterday and I was the leader of the band. If you remember yesterday we were with you in that gap and did a raid there. How is your day going?" He wrote something else. Listen, yes, so I thought yesterday I recommended to seek you out, the #1 guild in Korea, Jaein. This guild is one of the best. I know this is a very sudden suggestion, but I think given the influence you have had on me you would make the best results here. He is our guild. I do not quite understand what they want from me now because I do not have time for the guild, but it would not be nice to refuse. I'll take and just answer him now.